Hello again. Let's begin this morning's broadcast from Parliament, where the Majority Leader, Ayariga, has dismissed claims by the minority in the House that the National Democratic Congress plans to secure an overwhelming majority in Parliament to amend the Constitution, insisting the claims are unfounded. He wants the NPP MPs to, quote, stop raising false alarms about threats that do not exist. Speaking on the AM show earlier today, he stressed that even without the controversial Pandai seat, the NDC already has the numerical strength required for constitutional amendments, yet no such proposals have ever been tabled. Before we listen to him, though, let's bring you a recap of what transpired in the House of Legislature yesterday.
That was the level of chaos that erupted in Parliament Tuesday night as the NPP minority disrupted proceedings for hours, demanding the Speaker suspend a clerk's letter to the Electoral Commission declaring the Pandai seat vacant. Speaker Alban Bagbin was forced to suspend sitting.
There is a need for us to have a conclave where the Speaker will preside over the discussions at the conclave and then mediate for us to come to consensus.
When the House reconvened, the Speaker announced he would rule on the matter later, a decision that angered the minority, who launched a fresh 3-hour protest, vowing to shut down all government businesses until their demands were met.
To the extent that you want to twist our hands, to the extent that you have conspired to twist our hands, I put it to you that government business will suffer. So, Mr. Speaker, we are not doing any business. We are not going to cooperate with you until Pandai is resolved. And we are telling you this.
But Majority Leader Ayariga refused to yield.
It's not possible. No matter how much you chant, no matter how much noise you make. In fact, even if you come and stand on my seat here, I will still state my position so that the Speaker can give his ruling.
Despite the minority standing, chanting and banging desks for hours, the majority pushed through the turmoil and approved several budget allocations. All eyes are now on the minority's next move when Parliament resumes today. Carlos Caloni, Joy News, Accra.
We can now listen to the Majority Leader Ayariga, who is dismissing claims by the minority in Parliament that the National Democratic Congress plans to secure an overwhelming majority in the House in order to amend the Constitution.
Because if you recall, even presidential elections, when the NPP, petitioned against the election of President John Dramani Mahama, the court said, let's continue. If we go ahead and we conclude that the election was null and void and that John Mahama did not win, the court will so declare. If they declared, President John Mahama will step down, and if the court declared that it was Akufo-Addo who won, he will hand over to Akufo-Addo. And this country will live through it. We sat and watched the proceedings on television for several months, and finally a ruling was given confirming. Vice versa occurred when President Akufo-Addo also challenged, and we also sat and watched. So even if the person is sitting there and acting as president, and the court says, no, you didn't win the election, so step down, give it to this person, he actually won the election, the two sides were willing to abide by the decision. So even in this is a mere parliamentary election. Even if there is a by-election, and you take your case and finally win, the person who is sitting there, if the court orders that, no, you are not supposed to be there, the declaration of the nullity of this other person was not founded in law, and therefore we are reversing it. So we'll step down, and the person will come back and be reinstated. This is a country of rule of law. We believe in the rule of law. We don't believe in coming to the chamber and being cowardly and wearing face masks and being rowdy so the Ghanaians will not identify you as the ones, being rowdy. If you have the courage of conviction of what you are doing, and you are convinced that you are right, why are you wearing face masks and disrupting parliamentary proceedings? This is clearly very shameful. Very, very shameful that you wear face masks and come into the chamber as faceless people and be rowdy and disrupting the procedures of the House. If you have courage, come and face the public and do what you are doing.
Well, the minority yesterday told us that they are withdrawing their cooperation. What will happen in the House today?
Oh, yeah, I'll go to the House. I will take all my estimates, have them passed, and then have the House adjourn. Every other bill, I have bills to pass. I will pass all those bills and then proceed. As for cooperation withdrawal can be in several ways. Maybe they will vote against everything that we print. That's not cooperating. Maybe the small support that they give us, they will withdraw. For instance, sometimes members may be sitting in committee and etc., and then we don't have the numbers in the chamber to transact business. Cooperation sometimes is they not raising an issue of quorum, because under our fan orders, once we are going to start business, even when members withdraw from the chamber and you don't have the number required, the law is that the quorum that you started with stands until somebody raises an issue of quorum, and then there's a head count, and then a discovery made that indeed you don't have the numbers. You are presumed to have the numbers. When they say they will draw cooperation, it means that they will insist on all our members in the chamber before a decision is taken, or that they will vote against everything that we bring and then elongate the whole process of getting things approved. Those are the law piece of expressing non-cooperation. And they are within their right to come and utilize all those powerful mechanisms to express their non-cooperation. And I don't mind if they come and decide to do that. All I need to find where my members are, make sure I have the numbers like I did yesterday, and then go ahead, get my estimates approved and the bills voted for. If they vote against, we do a head count, and then we will win. And if the speaker sees clearly that I have the numbers, when you call for head count, he will ignore you because he knows that if he counts, I still have the numbers, so you are going to waste time.
Mahama Ayariga is the majority leader. Let's get talking and bring in Clement Akolo, who's a communications director at the Parliamentary Network Africa. Clement, good morning. Thanks for your time, for joining the program this morning. Just when we thought that this new parliament couldn't descend into more chaos, look what we witnessed yesterday. What transpired yesterday? What do you make of it?
All right, thank you very much. As you just said, we think that what happened yesterday in Parliament is rather unfortunate, that we are on this path once more, and we don't want to say that we are being vindicated by our position that we took as far back as 2021, when the first incident of MP's misconduct happened. But we can see that we are now at a crescendo where this misconduct has seen an escalation and has gone to its worst proportions. And we don't think that is the best thing to happen to the Parliament of Ghana.
The accusations by the minority that the majority in the House want to consolidate absolute power. That is why they are fighting for this vacant seat in Pandai. But the majority has dismissed those claims, saying that they have no decision at all to try to amend the constitution to consolidate absolute power. From where you sit, do you find any truth in what either side is saying about this?
We will say that this is still a conjecture, or is somebody's thinking about how they think that issues may go. Even if that's the case, this does not serve as an excuse for us to disrupt proceedings of Parliament. This is not an excuse for us to denigrate the image of Parliament. This is not an excuse for us to actually hurt the very institution that is the symbol of democracy in our country. And we don't think that this is something that we should even canvass as an excuse for misconducting ourselves in Parliament.
We know that Parliament is a house of debate, obviously, but since 2021 up until now, we've seen some changes in our parliamentary system, especially when it comes to debate. It turns out to be very tense. We remember what happened in 2021 when they were electing a new speaker. We also remember quite recently at the beginning of this year during the vetting of Sam George and other ministers when the House turned chaotic. How and why have we got into this stage where the little trigger that happens in Parliament, it turns chaotic? Why have we gotten here?
As we keep on saying by Parliamentary Network Africa, the very incident that happened in 2021 was the point that something ought to have been done immediately that particular incident happened. And you realize that up until 2021, when that incident happened, we had not seen any of such incidents on that magnitude before. So something was pierced in the lifetime of Parliament. So the sacredness, the sanctity of Parliament was pierced in that particular time where that sacred position of Parliament was brought down. And those who were in the helm of affairs should have noticed it and then taken it back to where it was. And now you can see that it has further escalated to the point where we are now aiming at picking up the mace that is the symbol of authority of Parliament. We think that for the lack of courage to correct that which happened in 2021, and then following up on the beginning of this particular night's Parliament, which we saw at the vetting of the ministerial nominees. We saw chaotic scenes on the 30th, which repeated itself on the 31st.
Right.
And then up till date, we do not have any recommendation, proper report, so-called, on that particular issue. And whoever is going to be sanctioned has actually emboldened people to go ahead to do what we saw yesterday. And we think that it has a direct correlation to what happened in 2021 without any corrective measures.
At the dissolution of the 8th Parliament, the Speaker of the House, who is still Speaker, Alban Bagbin, said that that was one of the best parliaments we've had in the 4th Republic. Really, do you think that these sporadic chaos that we keep on witnessing in the House is healthy for our democracy?
No, this chaos certainly is not healthy for our democracy. But that does not take away from the fact that the 8th Parliament, the composition of it, and how the businesses went is not one of the best parliaments that we had. It is one of the best parliaments that we had because before then, we all, people who talked about Parliament as a toothless bulldog, which does not have any teeth to bite. They were just taking orders from the executive hook, line, and sinker without any questioning and all that. But the composition of the 8th Parliament, where they were almost at par, brought some kind of scrutiny to some of the bills that were being passed and the businesses that were going through Parliament. So if you compare, comparatively, you can say that that gave some opportunity for the opposition and alternative views to be shared on the floor of Parliament. But certainly these chaotic things that have become part of our parliamentary system is essentially nothing to write home about, and it's not something that we ought to associate with the Parliament of Ghana.
Well, Parliament resumes sitting in a couple of hours, and yesterday the minority made it clear that they will not renege on these protests that they are staging in the House. And of course, the Speaker of the House, Alban Bagbin, also said that he's going to deliver a ruling on the Pandai matter today. Do you foresee another heckling happening in Parliament today?
Seeing what has happened so far, I will not rule out any further heckling. But if any of these hecklings and some of these situations that we do not like will stop. It will depend on how we are cracking the whip on those who are found to be misconducting themselves. And in the past, nothing has happened to those people. Therefore, those who would today still attempt to do so would have nothing to hold them back as consequences for their actions. So I'm not ruling that out, that it could happen. But going forward, I think that Mr. Speaker, together with his ruling today, must now crack the whip. Last time he told us that he's no longer going to treat them with kid gloves. And this time he's going to use the hammer. We want to see the hammer fall on somebody's head, that person or a group of people become an example for others who will attempt to take the same route. Otherwise, we'll risk even throwing away everything that we have worked for up until now.
Yesterday, we saw quite a laid-back majority who were chilled on the defense, and we saw a very vociferous minority who were, making noise and chanting throughout. But today, the majority say that they are going to match the minority boot for boot should an incident like that occur again today. Do you think that is the right approach for the majority to go?
I think that it will be a very, very bad approach by the majority side to want to match the minority boot for boot. I always say that the game that they play in Parliament, yes, it's a political game, we all know, but it must come with some strategy. And for the minority, they don't have much to lose when it comes to government business and all that.
Right.
So the majority, I don't think, should play to the game of the minority by allowing themselves to be drawn to this particular chaotic theme that we saw yesterday. If that happens, then it throws everything away. And I will not advise that the majority will make any attempt to match the minority boot for boot in the House of Parliament. And that will be very, very bad for the image of our country. And also will not help the transaction of public business, the transaction of the business of the government. And I'm sure that the majority should be rather looking at how they will be able to get their businesses through so that the appropriation bill will be passed so that by next year, the beginning of January, we will have some budgeting going to prosecute the business of government. So that will not be a strategy to take at all.
Clement Dakolo, thank you very much for your time this morning. He's the Communications Director of the Parliamentary Network Africa. And in other stories this morning, the minority in the House is accusing the Speaker, Alban Bagbin, and the majority of illegality for conducting business in the midst of Tuesday's chaos. What was intended as a peaceful protest against the declaration of the Pandai seat vacant degenerated into a brawl as the minority insisted the Parliament must withdraw the December 4th letter asking the Electoral Commission to conduct a by-election in the constituency. In the midst of the chaos, the majority was able to conduct government business, approving budget allocations to a number of ministries. Well, Deputy Minority Whip Habib Idrisu says the businesses conducted are not valid.
Was divided that the marshal office and security have to be there for it to pass. This is a disgrace to our democracy. It is something that has never happened in the parliamentary democracy, and it is something that is very shameful to the majority side. That you need to pass your motions, you need to pass your budget, that we have security personnel who are in the chamber guiding and safeguarding the speaker before such things have been passed.
I understand that you, as far as the minority is concerned, no business has been conducted on the floor?
As far as the majority and minority we are concerned, there is no single business that has happened today, because the parliamentary proceeding, you have been covering parliamentary proceedings. Have you ever seen that they have taken the maize from its original position while parliamentary business is on? The maize is the symbol of authority to parliament. So when it is out of where it is, that means that there's no authority of parliament. And anything that has happened is illegal. It has never happened. From 1992, they have never passed a motion in parliament where they have taken the maize from its original position. It has never happened that the marshal to parliament, it is guiding the maize whilst motions are being passed. This is an illegality. This is a disgrace to our parliamentary process.
Very finally, if you get the Hansards of proceedings today and you see business being conducted, what will your side of the house do?
Oh, we will advise ourselves, because we know that it is very illegal. It has never happened. It's shameful for our democracy. And even you media men, have you ever one day see that the maize is taken from its original position whilst parliamentary proceedings? What's the essence of the maize? The maize is the symbol of authority to parliament. When the maize is standing still, it means that we are doing our businesses. It's only at consideration stage that it is tilted to relax the rules. At this stage, the rules was not relaxed. The maize was taken, and it is illegal, and we advise our
continue tomorrow with this process. Continue?
Definitely. Our protest was very simple. Our protest was to the effect that the letter the clerk wrote to the Electoral Commission was illegal. So what we are saying, we have stated it, and tomorrow we know that other things will be going. We will advise ourselves what is going to happen.
Well, the majority says they will not allow the minority to distract any business on the floor, as they vowed to meet them with full force if they do not relent on the agenda. Maxwell Lukoto is MP for South Ton.
There should be civility, and the Speaker is the leader of the House. He says that this is the way we should conduct business. And you say, once I speak, nobody else will speak. Who does that? It doesn't happen in any civilized democracy. And the far we have come, we shouldn't be allowing some of these things to be happening. I don't think we should. We will not allow them to take us for a ride. If we do that, it means we are sleeping on our arse, and Ghanaians will not be happy with us.
Do I get the impression that the minority will meet the same force from the majority if what we saw today persists tomorrow?
No, they will meet greater force, because if you share our numbers, we'll match them 2-1. And so if they want, they should come. We are ready for them. We will not allow them to disrupt government business. That's why we will not allow. Because we have a timeline within which we have to pass appropriations and ensure that next year everything that we have budgeted for runs. And so why will they take us for granted? Pandai is just a seat. Many other seats were rerun. There were by-elections in a lot of constituencies, and seats were rerun. What is special about Pandai that everybody have to be held to ransom? No, we will not agree to that.
Let's turn our attention away from Parliament and focus on health now, because the coalition of unpaid nurses is asking government to fulfill its promise of clearing all arrears. The group says it is worried that government has paid just one of many months owed them. And leader of the group, Stephen Techia, is joining me on Zoom for a conversation on the back of this. Stephen, thank you for your time this morning. How much are you owed, and for how many months?
Thank you very much, sir. Let me say a very good morning to your cherished viewers. And thank you for the opportunity. First of all, I would like to say a very big thank you to the Health Ministry, the Minister, the HR Director, the Chief Director, and all staff at the Ministry for their swift response and for actually attending to our call when we called on them when we were not being paid. So if we can all recall, in October, the Ministry of Health had a press engagement during which they made it clear that at that time it has been approved and our number of months which was being owed by the government were going to be cleared or settled. And they gave out an outline in that they were going to pay 1 month's salary in November, and from then, they are going to communicate a payment plan for the accumulated arrears. So in November, as the ministry promised, they did that. They did what they should do, and let me say almost everyone belonging to our group was enrolled on the payroll. Only a few were not enrolled on the payroll. And most of the members received that 1 month's salary in November as promised by the ministry. And for that, we thank the ministry. But as they promised, with a payment plan, which the ministry promised, that was going to be communicated in due time. Although we have been in touch with the ministry, still in touch, engaging the ministry, it hasn't been communicated as we speak at the moment. And only a few members or so have not been paid, but we hope that by December they should be paid. And plan for the arrears, because at the moment there are some people who have about 10 months arrears still owed by the government. Some do have 11 months arrears. So that is what we need clarity on as to how it's going to be paid at the moment.
You mentioned that you have been in contact with the health ministry. When was the last time you heard from them?
So let me say within the week we've had an engagement, not an official one, of course, but for an official engagement it's over a month.
Over a month, and what were you told?
We were told the plan for the payment of the arrears would be communicated in due course. That was after payment of the 1 month salary in November. And we haven't had an update on that, let me say.
You mentioned that some of your colleagues are owed as much as 11 months. How are they surviving?
That one, only God knows. It's not been easy on our side. And what is even worrying is most people started work in December last year. Some started in January this year. At the moment, our rents are going to expire this December, most of the members, and we need to settle the rent. And there are people who borrow money from. Immediately they heard we have been paid, they rushed to us, just claiming their monies. When we told them we were paid a single month's salary, even some were not paid at all. Some did not believe us because they heard it in the media that we've been paid. It was just 1 month's salary, which was paid, and with that, a few people still didn't get it paid. And it's not been easy on our side, trying to survive, even coping with, let me say, even 2 square meals a day, transportation in and out to work here and there. It's not been easy.
And these people are still going to work every day?
Sure, for that one, we have to go to work because we work under regulations, and at the same time, we have our patients at heart. Nursing is a kind of profession which, if you don't have that kind of heart, you cannot do. And so long as you've taken it upon yourself to render that care to patients, definitely, regardless of the condition, you have to go. And for that matter, they needed support or they needed help, at least, that you need to be provided by those who are supposed to do, so that you can have that good state of mind.
Well, the minister did indicate in that last meeting that they're going to clear the arrears in November. There was no specific day in November that was given, but as we all know, that promise has not been fulfilled. Are you giving any timelines to the ministry to fulfill this promise?
For sure, at the moment we are in talks with our mother unions, Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association, the Union of Professional Nurses and Midwives, as well as the ministry. We are still in talks to ensure that the promise they made, that they are going to communicate clearly the payment plan for the arrears. We need it, sure.
You say you're still in talks, but it appears that those talks are not yielding any result. So while you still engage them, though, in the interim, what are you going to do? Are you going to take any next line of action immediately?
Since we are not in isolation, we work hand in hand with our mother unions. I think we are not going to take any decision without our unions. So whatever decision we are going to take will be a collaboration with our mother unions. And when we meet with them and a decision is taken, we arrive at a decision. We are going to make it public. We are going to communicate through your channel for the general populace to have an idea of what we are going to do.
Right, Stephen Techia is the leader of the Coalition of Unpaid Nurses. Thank you for your time this morning. And in other stories today, a child rights protection group, Child Online Africa, is asking government to safeguard safety of the Ghanaian child online by implementing stringent policies. This follows calls after Australia's newly passed legislation that delays social media access for children under 16. Executive Director of Child Online Africa, Adam Amenya, joins me on the telephone lines for a conversation. Thank you for your time this morning. First of all, the new social media ban for under 16s in Australia that has happened. Do you foresee something like that happening in Ghana? Are you in support of something like that coming to Ghana?
Yeah, thank you and good morning. In fact, we have actually started this called jury because felt as it's a chance for us to self-speak. You know, like I did a proverb that when your neighbors get on, you went yours. So clear, if failure is safeguard, what about who have added such so launch that clearly the harm us and we have to work. So yeah, support. That's why we say that and in Ghana and Africa. Just to make sure that children are mind we have child online and empowerment policy.
Well, sorry to interrupt, but I want you to reposition yourself because I appear to be losing you.
Oh, okay. Am I better now?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so I was saying that Africa seems to be the first continent to have a child online protection and empowerment policy. The best we could do is to roll out or implement that policy to the last. And one of the ways to have that effect and will be to protect them.
And some would also argue that the world is now a digital space where everything, including learning, educational purposes, and every other thing is studied online. For example, if these social media ban for under 16 that you're saying you're in support comes to Ghana, don't you think it's going to deprive children who primarily study online for educational purposes? Have you considered those things as well?
And you know, my brother, the truth of the matter is that the lessons are not on social media. They are on the internet. And this thing that you're calling social media ban is not a social media ban per se. It's a social media delay. So they are delaying their engagement to make sure that they have the requisite skills. They have good digital citizenship skills before they get onto the platform. So it's not a ban. It's a delay for TikTok, for Snapchat, for Facebook, and for Twitter.
Right, you may choose to call it a delay, but so long as you are still not 16, you are, effectively banned from accessing these things. But the other argument also is that the age, the 16 years age, has been called into question and contention. Even in Australia, we're having 2 teenagers who are suing the government for infringing upon their rights. Some are also arguing that shouldn't the age limit be lowered to, let's say, 13, because at 16, even in Ghana, you are free to make certain choices, although you're still a younger person or a teenager. Don't you think that the 16 years age should be limited to, let's say, 13 or lower?
At the moment, the age limit is 13. And we have witnessed so many mental health concerns. We have witnessed so when you put the process of brain development for children and young, I said there are certain things that they haven't yet acquired. they become too impressionable. So in order to manage them, we'll have to do what we have to do. And, you know, sometimes I go with what the Bible says, that train up a child in a way he should go. It didn't say train up a child in a way he or she wants to. So we will now have to do the thinking and put a lot into consideration in order to come up with standards. We are not calling for straight jacket, 16 years delay or anything. We are saying that it's about time we sit down as stakeholders, including the children themselves, for us to now agree on how we will go about it. But 13 is not helping us. It has been 13 things, but it hasn't helped us. So how do we make it in such a way that they gain what they need to get on the platform, whilst their sanity is also preserved?
Have you also considered it this way, that this one could also result in more dangerous adventures by these teenagers? For example, if this ban is effected, most of them will still try to find their way around it and get access to even more damning and damaging content that could have been prevented if this online ban wasn't in effect. Have you considered that if this ban comes into effect, it will make the children more innovative to find their ways around it and be more exposed to further dangerous content online?
You know, my brother, I rather took it on the opposite side, that it will make platforms a lot more responsible. Because if the system was there to ensure that content to children are worth it,
right,
I'm not sure we'll be having this conversation. So platform responsibility. So if the platform wants just go 6 or 8, 6, then the system is that some things are working, and the young people. Some people try that pop-ups are coming up to them, like they take off and they have pushed them psychologically, yes, but then at the inside them of working it. So I had a thought this thing, the capacity of young people want to go to the past earlier say we set husband.
Right.
And what they are satisfying everyone, I guess. But most after.
Ewo Adam Amenya, thank you very much for your time. She's the Executive Director of Child Online Africa. When we return from the break, we'll be bringing you the latest in business. See you in a bit.
Welcome back. It's time for business. I am Michelle Lejekum. Now to our stories. Now, President John Dramani Mahama is appealing to global vaccine manufacturers to partner government in establishing a Ghana vaccine manufacturing hub. Speaking at an engagement with pharmaceutical industry players at the WHX Leaders Conference in Accra, President Mahama said strengthening local vaccine production is crucial for health security on the continent to support economic growth. There's more in this report.
According to President John Dramani Mahama, the proposed hub will not only enhance Ghana's capacity to produce vaccines locally, but will also strengthen the region's preparedness for future health emergencies. President Mahama added that Ghana's existing pharmaceutical capacity, coupled with its strategic position within West Africa, places the country in a strong position to lead vaccine development and distribution on the continent.
Crucially, Ghana is inviting private sector partners, and this is what I was talking about, into strategic PPPs to expand diagnostic imaging, laboratory network, and specialized services nationwide. These three pillars are not isolated programs. They form the backbone of Ghana's health transformation agenda and our contribution to the broader African sovereign health ecosystem. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, Africa seeks a new paradigm of partnership, one that is defined not by dependency, but by co-investment, innovation, and shared values. So we call on vaccine manufacturers to partner with us to build African vaccine production hubs. We call on pharmaceutical companies to expand into biologics, generics, and essential medicine manufacturing in Africa.
Meanwhile, Minister for Trade and Industry, Elizabeth Ofosu-Adjare, revealed the ministry is engaging the Africa Continental Free Trade Area Secretariat to ensure seamless intra-African trade, particularly for pharmaceutical products, once local vaccine production begins.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, you will agree with me that infrastructure alone cannot deliver this revolution. That is why we are investing in human capital, training scientists, engineers, and innovators who will power this industry. My colleague Minister for Health is championing public-private partnership, unlocking financing, and embracing technology transfer to accelerate progress in the sector. And as Minister for Trade, Agribusiness and Industry, we are thinking beyond borders. Through the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, Ghana is positioning itself as a regional hub, the gateway for health products made in Africa, for Africa, and for the world.
On that spot, President for the Middle East, India, Turkey, and Africa at Informal Market, Peter Hall, highlighted the importance of platforms like the WHS Leaders Conference.
100%. I mean, this whole focus of this event is about action and about conversations that actually lead to impact. So at the end of this two-day event, there'll be a session talking about the outcomes from these meetings, these bilateral meetings that will happen off-site. So the conference is here, but there's multiple meeting rooms upstairs and to the left of us outside these doors, where private meetings will be taking place, forming partnerships to really make an impact on the health system here. So we definitely want to see announcements coming out over the coming days, and we expect to see those over due course.
The WHS Leaders Conference brought together policymakers, global health experts, investors, and pharmaceutical companies to discuss innovations in health systems, industrial transformation, and Africa's preparedness for future global shocks.
Also, Ghana has maintained its sixth position on the African continent to invest in 2025 and 2026. This is according to Rand Merchant Bank's Where to Invest in Ghana in 2025-2026 report. The following report has more.
Reports Where to Invest in Africa 2025-2026, Ghana is the #1 place to do business in West Africa, while Seychelles retained its #1 position on the continent. It was followed by Mauritius and Egypt in 2nd and 3rd respectively, while South Africa and Morocco placed 4th and 5th. From 7th to 10th are Algeria, Cote d'Ivoire, Tanzania, Kenya, and Ethiopia respectively. The RMB Where to Invest in Africa Index focused on fundamentals, what economists refer to as structural elements. These are factors that are foundational, slow-moving and robust rather than fickle and erratic. The report therefore anticipates most countries to maintain their respective rankings from year to year. Industrial structures, populations, and investment environments rarely change considerably over short spells. Hence, the report said it is unsurprising that 11 nations retained their positions in this year's report. A total of 7 countries moved between 2 and 4 positions. Just 6 countries experienced moves of 5 places or more.
And that'll be all for business. I am Michelle Lejekum. The small business news when you log on to myjoyonline.com. We'll take a breather. There's more.
Hello again. The Center for Public Diplomacy Ghana says it is partnering with Ghanaian universities to expand language and professional training programs as part of efforts to deepen Ghana-Russia cooperation. While acknowledging concerns raised due to the Russia-Ukraine conflict, the center maintains there is no cause for alarm, insisting the safety of international students in Russia remains fully assured.
The center is broadening its partner Russian Houses initiative, which seeks to strengthening educational and cultural ties between Russia and African countries. Already active in Burkina Faso, Niger, and Guinea, the project is expected to open new branches in Ghana, Libya, and Mali by 2025. The program aims to promote language development, humanitarian support, and cultural exchange. Director of International Communications and co-founder of the center's Ghana office, Mike Zink, says Ghanaian students and workers in Russia remain safe. He explains that the conflict zones are far from the regions where these individuals live and study, and that their security is not under threat.
We can say that Russia is a safe place because the country has put in measures that ensure that students do not go across certain jurisdictions that could put you in a certain situation. So you are confined, you are monitored, and nothing happens. Actually, since I went there, I haven't seen anything that is linked to the war happening in Russia. So we hear the information, and whatever that we hear or whatever that we see is happening at the outskirts of Russia. And there are no students located in such kind of forest.
Meanwhile, high-level delegation from top Russian universities, including St. Petersburg State University and Novosibirsk State Technical University, is in Ghana to explore new academic partnership. The team is holding discussions with institutions such as the University of Ghana, KNUST, and Valley View University to advance student exchanges and support the study of the Russian language.
That's it for News Desk this morning. The news team returns at midday with Joy News today. My name is Kenneth Jesse. For more news, you can log on to myjoyonline.com. There you have it. The top story says Ayariga defends Clark's action in Pandai saga, says minorities' tactics backfired. Thank you very much for being a part of the show this morning. My name once again, Kenneth Jesse. See you later.